Hello and welcome to this first tutorial about how to build the resin miniatures for the Black Powder Red Earth tabletop game. We have 10 highly detailed resin miniatures in the Scorch Squad box, and as you can see here, there are double sprues and single sprues, and all the parts that go together are on the same sprue, so you literally do not need any assembly guide or something like that. We'll need clippers and a hobby knife to clean up the miniatures. I also recommend super glue and a toothpick for easy application. I'll use a 2mm drill to get the bases cut out and some hobby files. I also recommend green stuff for once to sculpt over gaps and to get a better connection of parts. Here's an already primed miniatures, and instead of putting the miniature with the feet on the base, I will cut out part of the base and stick that little part of sprue that's still attached to the feet into the base. First of all, we get all the parts off the sprue with our clippers, and the thing here is that I go with the flat side of the clippers close to the piece, so I can easily pop it off the sprue. Let's get rid of that part that would usually go into a slotted base, or simply is for casting the miniature. I make several small cuts with my clippers to not overpressure the resin so it could break, and I also keep those pieces at the bottom quite small. Usually you could now assemble the body so you have better handling of the miniature, but I will do that later. First I'll mark me some pilot scratches so I know where the parts underneath the feet would go. Sometimes during filming tutorials you will see that you won't see anything in the end, so you possibly cannot see these marks. Rest assured that they are there. You could use a pencil to mark those better. However, now I use my 2mm drill to drill a few holes beside each other, so I get roughly the width of the parts of the sprue that's still attached to the feet of the miniature. The more thorough you are here, the less we will have to fill gaps with green stuff later. I'm using the hobby knife to connect my drilled holes here, and after that I'll go through both of them with the hobby files. You can do the homework with your hobby knife if you want, by scraping away and wriggling it around, but I find the use of files far better. The ones I use are actually made for wood, so they are a little rougher than the usual files you may get for modeling. Now, if everything went super well, the parts underneath the feet will just fit into the slots. Now, I always tend to have my miniature slightly above the base so that we will have space enough for sand and rubble. A small dot of super glue fixes everything in place and should give us enough stability for handling the piece during games. With this part done, I'm using some sticky putty like Patafix or Blue Tack to attach the base to a wooden cube so I can handle everything quite well. Now we'll mix some green stuff. I wet my hobby knife for that so the stuff doesn't stick to it. We don't need really much, and we use almost equal parts. Usually the yellow part is a little bit bigger. Moisturizing your fingers also keeps the stuff from sticking to them while mixing, and we will use this either to fill the gaps around the feet of the miniature, and we will also use the green stuff to assemble the parts by making small little balls and attaching them to one side of to one piece, and have super glue on the other one. This gives us more stability, and the stickiness of the green stuff helps us to connect the parts better. I'm using my hobby knife here instead of a classic sculpting tool to fill in those gaps in the base beneath the feet, and I also use it to flatten the surfaces and the green stuff that spills around our connecting sockets. So here you can see again I add a little bit of green stuff to the arm because that's the more fiddly part, and I added the super glue to the big easy to handle part. This minimizes the danger of gluing your fingers together or onto the miniature. Same goes with the head. I have to say that the pieces fit together really well, but the addition of green stuff just gives me a bit more control and less of a hassle if the super glue is too thin or doesn't connect properly. Yeah, here we go, that looks good. So with the techniques I just showed you, you should be able to assemble your squad nice and easy. To not get confused with parts, I use these little plastic containers where I put in all the parts for each miniature. I store my bases in them too, so I can easily go back to the project when I've time. Also having the Blue Tack or Patafix and some spare cubes to hand is always good, so I can work on 4 or 5 miniatures. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed this. See you next time. Cheerio. Well, I seriously do not know where that cheerio came from, but it seems to be my trademark for these videos. See you later.